What's up, Heat fans? This is Nic Rohloff of the Heat Report. Here on a Sunday evening where I want to talk about the Miami Heat because I think we're in for a potential long NBA season ahead of us. And this is directly coming after the Boston Celtics making a blockbuster trade today, and that is trading for Jrue Holiday, who was obviously sent to Portland in the deal for Damian Lillard, where he went to Milwaukee. The Blazers got Holiday and then flipped him to Boston for Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and 2 first-round picks. And this is why you subscribe to the Heat Report, because I'm going to break down everything that relates to the Miami Heat no matter what. I would have done a video earlier, but my main job at Chat Sports right now is to cover the NFL as well, and I couldn't get one out until now. But full transparency, that's the reason why. I also want to say that tomorrow is media day for Miami, and then training camp starts Tuesday for the Heat. So I'm going to break that down and cover that as well. So make sure you are subscribed here at the Heat Report if you want to be the most informed Heat fan on the planet. But I did want to make a video because the Heat are in a bad way right now, and I don't really know what the upside of this season is going to be. Like, I was thinking about this all day today after the Celtics made the move for Jrue Holiday. It's like, even best case scenario for the Miami Heat at this point, like, you're not going to see a positive regression from Jimmy Butler because he played unbelievable last year in the postseason. Say you get a jump from Tyler. He now goes to 25 points per game, like on good efficiency, so it stays up. And then you also consider the fact that Bam Adebayo takes another step as well. Maybe he continues to increase his offensive output. Maybe Jaime Jaquez Jr. is a good pick. Maybe Caleb Martin plays like his postseason self the entire regular season, and maybe Nikola Jovic becomes a rotational player, where I think that can happen, but maybe he does. My question is, do the Heat actually have a chance with all of that possibly happening? And there is absolutely no way that all of those things I just mentioned do happen. But say like 60% of them do. Do you have a chance to beat the Boston Celtics with their new upgraded roster? Do you have a chance to beat the Milwaukee Bucks with Dame, Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez? I lean no, and I don't want to be so pessimistic to scare you guys off for this regular season, because don't get me wrong, I am very excited for Heat basketball to return, and as long as Jimmy Butler is on the team and Eric Spoelstra is coaching the team, I'm going to have the belief that the Heat can compete with anyone. But when you just look at the facts, it feels like we are on a crash course to the Milwaukee Bucks and Boston Celtics playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's just how I see it, and I don't really know how you could look at it any other way. You think of the starting lineup for the Boston Celtics. It's Jrue Holiday at point guard, Jaylen Brown at shooting guard, Jason Tatum at small forward, Kristaps Porzingis at power forward, and Al Horford at center. Even if Al Horford falls off a cliff because of his age, the other 4 in that lineup are flat out ridiculous. You have Jaylen Brown, who's the highest paid player in the NBA. Does he deserve it? I don't know, but he is a very good basketball player who was just second team All-NBA. You have Jason Tatum, who is first team All-NBA, a top 7 player in the league and one of the best young players in our association today, where if we did a redraft right now, Tatum would probably go top 3. So they have 2 studs. And now you add a point guard in Jrue Holiday, who has been a fantastic third option in Milwaukee over the past 3 seasons. Was basically the sole reason why they won the NBA Finals in 2021. Yeah, Giannis was insane, but Holiday is that third option, the defense, the 19 points per game while shooting 40% from 3. Like, Jrue Holiday's a stud. Oh, and don't forget, Kristaps Porzingis is sitting there at power forward to where he's going to be a good player. And Kristaps gets to be a 4th option. Kristaps as your 4th option is absolutely insane. The Celtics roster is absolutely stacked. I'm going to dive more into it here in a second, but I want to get your thoughts on it right now. Are you concerned about the Boston Celtics after their Jrue Holiday trade? Do you think they're going to be better than the Miami Heat? The Heat obviously just beat them in the Eastern Conference Finals, but do you think Boston is so much better than Miami right now where you're scared of them? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I do, because listen, they have a perfect blend. And I mentioned that starting 5. You know who I didn't mention? Their 6th man, Derek White, who played phenomenal in the series against the Miami Heat. And if you remember Derek White, he had the game-winning putback layup in Game 6 that forced a Game 7 in that Eastern Conference Finals. He also did a fantastic job guarding Jimmy Butler. And the fact that they lose Malcolm Brogdon, who won Sixth Man of the Year last year, and then their sixth man this year is going to be Derek White. I mean, I hate the Celtics more than anyone, but shout out to Brad Stevens for actually upgrading their roster. Something that the Heat and Pat Riley have failed to do ever since Jimmy Butler and Bam joined the team. They have been constantly making deep pushes, but not been able to get over the hump. And what have the Heat been doing? They've been running it back with very subtle, minimal changes to the roster where they view as upgrades. What has the Celtics done? Yeah, it has not worked out, but they're at least trying to make big changes. Whether it be Malcolm Brogdon trade last year, now it's Kristaps and Jrue Holiday's trade. Like, I respect what Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics have been doing because they have legitimately looked at themselves and said, our current roster can't win an NBA Finals. We're going to go out there and at least take a big swing to try to win a championship. And I respect it. So when you consider what Boston has done, and you talk about Milwaukee, where their top four is probably the best four. I mean, you could argue the Celtics have a better roster than Milwaukee now. But even if you don't, Dame, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Giannis is unbelievable. They also still have Bobby Portis, and they signed Campaign today as well to make things even worse for Miami because I thought Campaign was the perfect 14th roster spot for Miami because we don't have a backup point guard. We do not. Unless the Heat seriously believe that R.J. Hampton, who they just signed to a two-way deal, is going to improve and show something in training camp and get elevated to the active roster and be the backup point guard to Kyle Lowry, who's going to be the backup one? Is it just going to be Tyler or Josh Richardson filling in? Sure, but like that, you can't tell me that's not scary. Like, I mean, I'm just really, really concerned about Miami's 2023-24 NBA season. Do I think there are moves out there that can change my outlook and make the Heat the third best team in the Eastern Conference? I do. I really do. When you think of a Buddy Hield deal. Hell, I know there's reported that there's going to be no interest in this, but hell, if you were to tell me Kyle Lowry, say Caleb Martin, and like a first-round pick for James Harden and PJ Tucker, like that's on the table, I would absolutely be all in on that. Because if you did make that move, you could have a James Harden, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo starting five. To me, that is a very good starting five. And James Harden as a third option, fourth option at times, would be dangerous. But are the Heat going to make that move? No. And I'm kind of feeling like Barry Jackson right now. I'm absolutely devastated. And I'm a broken man when it comes to believing in Pat Riley and company making moves. I don't think they're going to do anything. And that disappoints me because someone that I've mentioned a lot, and I said this before Damian Lillard got traded to the Bucks, that I would be happy with trading for Buddy Hield in a Damian Lillard package. And if, say, Dame fell through, which it obviously did, I would also be very excited to add Buddy Hield to this roster outside of Dame, because he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. He's top 5, and he's better. He's more than just a shooter. He's a scorer. He can take you isolation. He can take tough jumpers in the mid-range and in the three-point level and make them consistently. I love Buddy Hield, and him as a fourth option on offense would be absolutely dangerous. Having Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Tyler be your top 3 scorers, and then Buddy Hield as your fourth, would make this team very good. And I've seen a lot of people floated out that a combination of Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry sent to Indiana would be able to net you TJ McConnell and Buddy Hield. And you cannot tell me that wouldn't be perfect. Jimmy Butler and TJ McConnell are good friends. They actually have a history together of playing in Philadelphia. TJ McConnell is also a perfect Heat guy. He is a gritty defender who does the little things right. Nothing flashy, but will grind, be a pest, and be pesky. Like TJ McConnell would be a great addition to this Heat team. And even if you did send Kyle Lowry, I would be comfortable starting TJ McConnell game 1. I would. And if you want to go smaller, you can. Or you can have McConnell be your backup 1 and have Tyler play the 1 in the starting lineup. Like, you can't tell me a starting lineup that if you went small of TJ McConnell, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield at the 3, Jimmy at the 4, Bam at a 5, wouldn't be good. Or if you want to do Tyler and Buddy in the backcourt, Jimmy at the 3, Kevin Love at the 4, and Bam at the 5, that works for me too. But I think the Heat need to add something to the roster, or this team's going to be cooked. This season's going to be Jover. And if you saw the thumbnail and are still watching, that's what I implied. Because if the Heat don't take this seriously and go out and make a move, And I'm going to say this right now. I don't think they do it because Pat Riley has a history of not shaking up his roster during training camp. And training camp starts Tuesday. So I doubt that there's a big move out there. And I think attaching an expiring deal like Kyle Lowry and a first-round pick that Miami has 2 of them they can send would be absolutely worth it to try to maximize this Jimmy Butler window. Because to me, you're failing him and Bam by not going out and upgrading the roster. Bam is 26. Is he ever going to have a teammate on the Miami Heat as good as Jimmy Butler is right now? Like, that's a serious question we have to ask ourselves. Jimmy is a top 10 player in the league, in my opinion. And I know the regular season stats don't show it, and he doesn't try in the regular season sometimes. But when it comes down to who you want on your team to win a meaningful basketball game in the postseason, Jimmy Butler, I don't think you could take 4 or 5 guys over him. And you're not maximizing this window. And it's really disheartening to me. People could go back to Mickey Arison in the ownership about not wanting to spend in the luxury tax, which is kind of why they stayed away from Bradley Beal and was hoping to get Damian Lillard, which they obviously didn't. Like, this offseason could have not gone worse for the Miami Heat. I sent that tweet out today. That's why you follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff, but I truly do mean that. Like, Jrue Holiday goes to your biggest rival, the Boston Celtics. Damian Lillard goes to your second biggest rival, the Milwaukee Bucks, in the last 4 seasons. So your 2 biggest rivals in the last 4 seasons, ever since Jimmy Butler and Bam joined forces, got significantly better. And when I say significantly, it's not just like, all right, they got like 20% better. They legit added 50% better to what they were last year. Adding Jrue Holiday and Kristaps to the Celtics is unfair. And all they lost is an injured Robert Williams, a couple first-round picks, and Malcolm Brogdon. Like, they lost Grant Williams too, but that dude's a bozo. He's not good. He's not a difference maker. But you add Kristaps, and you add Jrue Holiday. And then the Bucks obviously get Damian Lillard. It's just disheartening, man. It's hard to have a positive outlook for this upcoming season because I don't think they have a ceiling to where they could win an NBA Finals. I think the Miami Heat ceiling this year is the second round of the playoffs. That's the ceiling. Because if you were to tell me right now, as we currently sit, that the Heat would beat the Celtics or the Bucks in a 7-game series, I think you're absolutely nuts. Like, the only way they could even get to the NBA Finals to me is if the Celtics and Bucks somehow get matched up on the same side of the bracket and knock each other out in the Eastern Conference semifinals, so you would only have to play one of them in the conference finals. But do you really think there's not going to finish 1 and 2? Like, there is no doubt in my mind that the Bucks and Celtics will go 1-2 in the Eastern Conference, and then they will just inevitably meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, because that's how good their roster is. Unless Giannis or Dame gets hurt, or Jimmy or Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown gets hurt, there is no way they don't match up in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you can book that. Unless the Heat go swing big and add a massive talent boost, whether it be a Buddy Hield, whether it be a James Harden, whether it be a Zach LaVine at the trade deadline, unless the Heat go out and add a massive boost to their guard position that can be an isolation scorer and chip in 20 to 25 points per game in efficient isolation minutes to help out Jimmy and Bam, I do not see a way the Heat are going to be better than the Bucks or Celtics this upcoming season, and that is why I think the Heat are cooked for this upcoming year. That's going to do it for today's show. Like I said, hit that sub button because I'm going to cover the Miami Heat. No matter what this upcoming season, we're going to do live watch parties. We're going to cover the Heat during training camp, maybe do some preseason watch parties as well. So stay tuned for that. This is the Heat Report, and even though it's a little doom and gloom episode, go Heat. I'm always going to be locked in on Miami in the 305.